Sometimes love isn't enough. As an adoptive mom, people would often say this to me, as if to imply I couldn't love my son enough to change behaviors or heal his trauma, so I should probably just give up. At least that's how I took those four powerful words, which had buried themselves deeply in my mind, leading me to doubt my ability to parent my child. Sometimes love isn't enough. That is the truth. Oftentimes, you need love and powerful, personalized tools to raise a child who's experienced trauma and disrupted attachment, or a child who you're struggling to connect with. I am on a mission to help parents raising kids with a tricky past to show up with unconditional love and practical tools to lovingly manage even the most challenging of times. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Plus, if you like what you hear, I'd love for you to leave a review. Now let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. For this episode, I want to talk all about the holidays. So, I know for many of us growing up, we have mixed feelings about the holidays. As parents, oftentimes we have such high expectations, right? We want to get the kids together for fun and family. There's often a ton of food around the holidays as well. And yeah, in some ways, there can be so much excitement around the holidays. I know oftentimes our kids will get so excited about the gift part of the holiday, right? Or they'll get so excited about decorating or maybe seeing family members that they haven't seen for quite some time. But I don't want to lose sight of the experience of our kids, especially our kids who are in and out of home placement, and our kids who have maybe sensory differences, who have a history of trauma. These things can have such a huge impact on our kids. So that's what I want to talk about today. So first, I really want to talk about our kids who are in and out of home placement. You know, the holidays can bring up so many mixed feelings for our kids. Whether they have been in your home since they were teeny, teeny, tiny, or maybe they've only been with you for a couple of years, it's likely that they have some kind of thoughts or expectations or feelings around the holidays. Because even our tiniest of kids who are no longer with their biological family, their birth family, even our kids who had that separation when they were little, it is a separation nonetheless. They're not feeling the energy or experiencing what they had experienced while they were in the womb. And so I want to make sure that as we're talking about the holidays, that we're taking into account all of our kids who've experienced just so many challenging things. And so when we put ourselves into our kids' shoes, I think a couple of things. I think that they want to be excited. I know that I have heard from many kids that they want to be so excited about the holidays. They want to enjoy time with family. They want to be excited about the gifts. But then there's this disconnect, right? Because they want to feel this excitement and joy, but there are mixed reviews happening inside their head, inside their body. Oftentimes our kids who get so excited about the gifts, then when they get the gift that they had asked for, they don't want it. They look like they're being ungrateful or indecisive, or they look like they're being, I don't know, greedy, maybe. I mean, you could put so many different words there. This is a really common experience for parents who are raising kids that weren't originally from your home, is that oftentimes there can be this experience where kids get so excited about gifts and then they keep changing their mind, or they finally get what they said they wanted and it's not the exact right one, or they've changed their mind at the last minute and they want something different, Or, well, they wanted that, but they also wanted three other things. And then they're upset that they didn't get the three other things. These are all pretty common experiences for many kids who've experienced trauma and disrupted attachment. It's also really common for kids to experience sensory overload, right? Where the lights, the sounds, the food, the people, all of the things that come with the holidays, even when we're trying to control it and maybe have smaller gatherings, all that comes with holidays, right? It's exciting to go see the Christmas lights, but that's something that isn't part of the daily routine. And so even doing things like that, going to go Christmas tree hunting or decorating the tree at home or going out to see Christmas lights, all of these things can be really overwhelming for our kids who perhaps have sensory processing differences or kids who have experienced trauma or disruptions. So I think it's important that as we ourselves as parents are also going through so many things, right? We go into the holidays, like I said, with our expectations. We want our kids to have fun. We want our kids to behave. We want our kids to be grateful or thankful or not rude about the gifts. I know we all have different lines that we draw there, but we have these expectations of our kids. We expect to or hope that we don't have to take our kids home from grandma's house early because they've been in a full-blown meltdown or they destroyed somebody else's presents or, who knows what else our kids might do. We have these expectations going into the holidays. So we take our kids who already are feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, feeling overstimulated. Our kids are already feeling all of these feelings, experiencing all of these experiences. And then we as parents pile on top of that. And not that we're trying to do that. I did it too, right? This is the experience of being a parent. But when we are adding to the chaos that our kids are already experiencing, it just makes it harder. And here's what I know about trauma. We know that when our kids have experienced trauma, it's really hard for them to be in integrity. It's really hard for kids when their trauma is triggered. It's really hard for them to not steal and cheat and lie. It's really hard for them to be grateful. It's really hard for them to be respectful of other people's things or their food. It's really hard for our kids when they're overwhelmed and overstimulated. It's really, really hard, if not impossible, for our kids to behave the way that we hope or expect that they will. Because it's their whole system that's out of whack. It's not kids misbehaving, it's their whole body that's out of whack when we pile on the excitement but chaos of the holidays, the increased expectations that come with the holidays, the changes in predictable routines that come with the holidays, just all of it together. And then just to put sprinkles on top of that, our kids might be reliving or re-experiencing or remembering some things from their past that can be really hard. They might be remembering old family members that maybe they don't see anymore, or they might be remembering old experiences that they had. Or they might just be feeling the sense of family that comes with the holidays, which might trigger them to feel sad and they don't even understand why. So I wanted to share all of this with you so that as we're going into the holidays and we're thinking about how to approach our kids and how to support our kids and how to help them be successful and how to try to enjoy the holidays, I believe full-heartedly that it is key that we understand the experience of our kids. It's key that we don't just take a surface look at the behaviors that are in front of us, but instead that we take a step back and ask ourselves, what does my child need from me right now? What might be leading to them experiencing these behaviors? Because I assure you that your kids don't want to be having meltdowns at your holiday festivities. They don't want to be dragged out of grandma's house kicking and screaming. They don't want to get in trouble because they were sneaking or stealing or they accidentally opened somebody else's Christmas presents while, the adults were talking, right? The kids, our kids, they don't want to misbehave, but there are many things that get in the way of them making the right choices, doing what we expect of them. So, I'm going to share with you a couple of tips to perhaps help the holidays go a little bit smoother for you. So, my first tip is to try to keep things as simple as possible. If it works to do gatherings at your house where your kids feel most comfortable, that might be what's best for your kid. If it's possible, or if you must go elsewhere, or even if you do stay at home, try to keep it small and simple. And so for some kids, it's best to have multiple holidays across multiple days where you gather small groupings of family and friends. Other kids, you might just have to have one big gathering so that it's all done and over with. You get to decide what works best for your family, but these are things to consider. I would also encourage, in addition to being mindful about the simplicity of things, I would really encourage you to take inventory of all of the sensory components that might be impacting your kiddos. Because whether or not your child has a diagnosed sensory disorder, when any of us are overstimulated, our sensory system can be heightened, which can mean increased problems when it comes to doing expected behaviors. So, what do I mean by that? I mean, when we think about the holidays, and perhaps normally every year you go to Aunt Susie's house, but you know that Aunt Susie's house has a really strong smell. Well, that might be too much for your kiddo when you take into account all of the extra people, food that our kids don't normally eat, the expectations around gifts. Um, there might be extra people like hugging and, talking to your kids. So we take all of those things into account. If there are pieces of that that you can minimize or eliminate, why not give it a try? And if you can't avoid going to Aunt Susie's house because it smells there, but you still feel the need to go, maybe you could give your kiddo a candle or something that they could smell so that they have a little bit more control over their sense of smell. Or if you know it's really busy there and there are lots of different knickknacks, maybe you could take them some sunglasses to wear and let other family members know that you're offering your kiddo something to help make their day go better. And maybe let's just let them wear the sunglasses for the holidays. You could even consider taking things like headphones and playing calming music in the headphones so that your kiddo can shut out extra sensory stimulation. So these are just a few ideas. I would also encourage you, along the lines of sensory, if there are things that you know are comforting to your kiddo, try and bring those with or incorporate them into your day. Because as I had mentioned, holidays throw off our kids' routines too. And oftentimes our kids who have a traumatic past really thrive on predictability and routines. When things get out of routine or they're not predictable, that can create extra unnecessary anxiety and stress about something that perhaps you could have given them a heads up about. So the more information we can share with our kids to foreshadow, to help them understand expectations, the possibly better off that things will be. I can say that everything that I'm sharing here is none of it's black and white. These are just things to consider for your family. You could also consider having discussions with your family members and even your kids about gifts and teaching expected responses when your kids don't like what they got or they're unhappy with what they got, and to let them know that, they can share in private with you their frustrations, but that you hope that they don't tell, Aunt Susie or grandma that they don't like the gift that they got, because those things can just make it that much harder for our kids to connect and relate with family. So as you're planning the holidays, oh, and the other big thing is in many, many families, holiday food is different than everyday food. So keep that in mind as you're going there for the holidays. And if possible, ensure that there are things there that your kid really likes or things that they were able to help prepare. The more that we can involve our kids in what's happening, the more we can inform them, the more we can help them understand what's expected, the better off they'll be. And last but not least, I've been talking quite a bit about human design, and I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't just mention that here. Because when I think about taking kids to the holidays, I think it matters a ton what type of energy they have. For our kids who are projectors, and then they're in a room full of other people, statistically speaking, there are going to be other generators there. I would love it if you would share with me if you have a whole family full of non-generator type, but that's likely not the case. And so if you listen to my previous podcast about generators raising projectors, if you have projector children or manifestor children or reflector children, and they're in a room with people who have that consistent workforce energy, what that means is when they're with them, they very likely are amplifying that energy. They are experiencing it in a bigger way than the person whose energy it actually is. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that oftentimes, for lots and lots of reasons, but this is one of the reasons, oftentimes our non-generator kids, when they're in groups, can experience excessive energy and they don't know what to do with it because it's not their normal energy. And so that can also add to the chaos. So they're unsure of expectations and there are different sensory experiences and they're overwhelmed about the whole gift thing. And then they're feeling this excessive energy and they don't know what to do with it because it's not theirs. They don't normally experience that. So keep those things in mind as you're experiencing the holidays, prepping for the holidays. The same can be true, right? The generator types just always have that energy. It's always there. And so for those kids, you can anticipate that they're going to need something busy to do to keep them busy. It's really hard to expect our generator types to just sit and behave because their body's telling them to do something very, very different. And like I said, in scenarios like this, where a bunch of people are together, the non-generator types can also have a really, really hard time sitting and behaving. So keep these things in mind as you're prepping for the holidays. If you want to understand your type or your kiddo's type better, book a reading. And I do offer a discount code, but you have to contact me and let me know that you listened to this episode about the holidays, and I'll send you that discount code so that you don't have to pay full price because, it's always great to save money around the holidays. But I am confident that with reading with me, I will give you very practical things to understand yourself and understand your key relationships better. So I hope you found this episode helpful as you prepare for the holidays. And I enjoy your holidays so, so much. I can't wait to connect with you and help your family get on the track to connection. I hope that you found this episode so incredibly powerful. Thank you for joining us for Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. If you resonated with what you heard here, please subscribe to this podcast and give us a review. You can also follow us on all the socials. Check the show notes for all the details about how to start tackling behaviors and creating a powerful, loving relationship with your child, a child who needs your love the most. And if your gut's telling you that it's time for a change now, book a free consult. I'd love to help you love unconditionally and show you that you have that power within you.